Guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and with the 2023 event coming to a close, winding down with only 5 days left, a lot of people have already started collecting their Mega Tier 2, so now is the perfect time to reevaluate and update that Mega Tier 2 guide video that we made about 9 months ago. So let's go ahead and refamiliarize ourselves with this list here. I know MFF doesn't release very many characters anymore, so the Mega Tier 2 options don't really change that much. However, in light of releasing new characters, they have been releasing a ton of uniforms for existing premium characters. There's been an obvious shift to focus on upgrading these characters and making them better. So without further ado, let's jump into the new list. It's very, very different than what you saw 9 months ago. So let me just break down the list very, very quickly. We have different tiers of character. God tier is just like the best characters right now that are your best option for a Mega Tier 2. Then you have PvP, PvE, support. Then you have needs rework, which is pretty straightforward. And then on the right side, you have epic quest characters, leadership characters, and strikers for World Boss Ultimate specifically. So the way this is designed, the way that it's broken down, each character has little icons underneath that tell you where they are obtained. So it basically just denominates the different difficulties and the different costs associated with these characters, because they're not all the same cost, right? Some of them, just like Magneto, cost straight up crystals, whereas Valkyrie, you have many different ways to get her. So for some players, that may make one character more or less valuable to be used, to have a Mega Tier 2 used on them. Remember, for a character to have a Mega Tier 2, they just have to be 6 stars. It says right here, you can tier 2 a character at level 1, 6 stars, 0 mastery. Now, I know what you're thinking. For characters like Magneto and other Epic Quest characters, you can just farm for their bios, Alex. Absolutely, you can do that. I'm just giving people a full, exact list of all of the characters that are even worth considering. Ultimately, it's your decision who you want to Mega Tier 2, but I made this list with fun in mind rather than grinding and hoarding as heavily as possible, because a lot of people end up quitting before they even use these materials because they're in hoarder mode 24/7. Obviously, there's also the huge mistake to Mega Tier 2. These are characters who are just very easy to rank up, even easier than Epic Quest characters like Magneto. So they would be a bad option to Mega Tier 2, but hey, you do you can do whatever you want. And then, of course, there are characters that you literally cannot Mega Tier 2 because they are native Tier 2 or native Tier 3. So they already start with that upgrade. So jumping into the list, any character that has a red border around them has been moved up or moved down. For the most part, they've been moved up, but they've also been moved down to make way for the new characters that have gotten buffs, and of course with the introduction of Tier 4. This original list made 9 months ago was made before Tier 2 was introduced to the game. It was made right around the anniversary of last year, so a lot has changed since then. You've got really insane upgrades to Namor, Carnage, and Blue Dragon, and of course to a lesser extent because it's a holiday uniform, but also Magneto and their Tier 4 advancements, making them very attractive options for a Mega Tier 2, especially if you're trying to rush to push them up to level 72 and up. So that has been really, really good. It's also seen the decline of other powerhouses that were otherwise really good options for a Mega Tier 2, like Makari and Thena, and to a lesser extent, someone like Luna Snow. These characters will eventually come back. I assume Luna Snow will get a uniform before the Eternals do, because the Eternals are probably going to collect us until the next Eternals movie or until their next MCU appearance. But yeah, just keep in mind that they're not completely worthless. They're just lagging quite a bit behind the incumbent powerhouses now who are dominating. And then we also have Riri Williams in the God tier, a very, very underrated character in my opinion. The Black Panther Wakanda Forever update was not well received by the community. There was no Black Panther, there was no follow-up update. So I do feel like a lot of the stuff besides Namor gets sort of swept under the rug. And of course, although Shuri is amazing, she's not Tier 4, so people forget how good she is. And I think Riri's sort of the same way. Amazing leadership for blast types, amazing support for basically all allies. And then she's not a bad character in her own right to play as an actual damage dealer. So very, very good in my opinion. We kept Echo and Electro here for 2 reasons. Not saying that they're straight up better than Makari, no. But I believe they represent a higher total value these days than just Mega Tier 2 Makari. Because yeah, you could Mega Tier 2 Makari, or you could just take your Spider-Man to level 72, and he's going to destroy Makari. right? So in that sense, Makari's value is hurt more by speed types getting tier 4 than Echo or Electro. Electro's value is not hurt because we still don't have a speed villain, very important factor here, who can go above level 70, so he's still one of the best speed villains in the game. That's a very important factor to consider. Secondly, for Echo, she's got the leadership and she's got the passive support, and with more speed types getting tier 4, Spider-Man and then we know Ant-Man, Echo's value will continue to stabilize and stay there because she is the de facto best speed leadership for any PvP content. Like, just straight up, right? If Spider-Man becomes PvP meta and then Ant-Man becomes PvP meta, you know who's going to be nestled in between those two bugs? Echo, baby. Maya frickin' Lopez, because she's an absolute god for buffing speed types for PvP. So there's just no question she should be up here in god tier as more and more speed types get their tier 4 and as they, you know, normalize how many of each type are relevant for PvP. And then as far as the other new characters go, we do have Magic here. I know it's a seasonal uniform, and I know we sort of dogged her, but she does perform pretty well when Jean Grey and other notable tier 4s are banned. So again, take that for what it is, but if you cut the tier 4s out of the equation, she's one of the best tier 3s for PvP. So that is worth something. You have to have the artifact. It's not a question of if, it's you have to. But she's still quite good. We have Agent Venom, amazing support for both Carnage and Venom, so you got some nice flexibility there. And then if other symbiotes ever get reworks, he's their best or one of their best supports. He's got a great artifact, and he's flexible in that his support applies for both PvE and PvP, and he's not bad himself for PvP, so pretty nice combination. I'm not so hot anymore on Colossus as a support. I know some people still use him, but I feel like his value is fading fast. And it's not going to be long before nobody uses him in PvP anymore. He just doesn't carry his weight as a tier 2 or whatever, as a transcended. It just doesn't really work. Toxin, yeah, this is kind of a high value for him. I don't really think that he's in the top 5 consideration or top 6 consideration for PvP among mega tier 2s. But he's all right. He's all right. He's probably better for Alliance Conquest. Being transcended obviously helps with that, and having the auto heal definitely helps with that. I think this is a bit of a generous ranking for him, but hey, he's not bad. For Sunbird, keep in mind that his value here is 100% tied to Blue Dragon. If you're building Blue Dragon for PvP, and that's why Sunbird is under PvP, then you absolutely should build him for PvP. So his value can range wildly. This is sort of the same story we've always said about Sunbird. But if you're not building Blue Dragon, then he's not even, like, he's in needs rework. He's down there right at the bottom. Sadly, one of the newer characters released this year who got a rework, well, not released, like the uniform was released for the character to get a rework. Iceman, not quite good enough. Not quite good enough in PvE. I mean, you could argue he's better than Luna, so you could move him up one spot, but he's not really going to go much further than that. And there are just better options for mutants, so he sort of struggles there. Like, even I'd say Polaris is probably a better option overall than Iceman. So that is something to consider. Speaking of Polaris, we got some really nice supports in the way of Polaris and also M'Baku. I put him at the bottom here, not because he's a bad support, he's an amazing support, but because he can only go to tier 2. So that's definitely something to consider if you're going to mega tier 2 him. He cannot go any higher. You might ask yourself, well, then what is he useful for? Well, it's useful for other content like ABX and ABL that you don't need to use tier 3s for, like you do in World Boss Legend and Galactus GBR. Or sorry, Dormammu GBR. That might not be an attractive enough option for some players. Then that's why they're going to skip tier 2ing M'Baku. Totally understand. That's why I put him here. On the other hand, I think Polaris is very, very good. I know that mutants are kind of a niche, but within that niche, she is the best support for mutants, period. Amazing leadership, amazing support, and she's a solid standalone character on her own, which makes her very, very good for any roster that features mutants in basically any way. Not to mention there's already 4 mutants, excuse me, that can be taken to tier 4. That's a humongous chunk of the total number of characters that can be taken to tier 4. And then at the end here, I wanted to quickly mention needs rework. I know we put Gilgamesh down here, sad days, but what I wanted to mention was these two. Again, I'm pretty sure it's Arachnite. It could possibly be Spider-Man 2099. I don't know. But the point is, one of these is going to get a rework, and he's going to shoot up near the top. Hopefully, presumably, we don't know. But just in case, right, in case none of these other characters, let's say you have most of these characters tier 2 and none of the ones that I mentioned is really appealing to you, you could save your mega tier 2 and then pop it on one of these bad boys if you don't already have them tier 2. It's less valuable for Arachnite than it is for Spider-Man 2099 because, as we explained, one run of the Heroic Quest and one 6-star ticket that you get from the Battle Pass is enough to get your Arachnite to tier 2, so it does lower the value of the mega tier 2 for Heroic Quest characters like Wave, etc., White Fox. It's much better for premium characters like Spider-Man 2099, but again, that's ultimately your decision to make. I don't want you to always have to make the decision that is the most value, because that doesn't necessarily equal or equate to the most fun. And then, yeah, sad little thing here. I had moved all these characters like Hyperion, Icarus, and Spectrum over to leaderships because that's basically all they are now. Like, you can use them in AC, I guess, but otherwise they're not really going to be used for much else in today's game. So yeah, that's how the premium character mega tier 2 list shakes out. I was actually pretty surprised and I had a lot of fun making this video and reorganizing the characters because there were so many to reorganize, which I honestly did not expect for this list. But yeah, it's been 9 months, and then, you know, I guess enough of them have been reworked via uniforms that it kind of makes sense. So yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.